Oh man, life is good. I got my 3 beautiful babies, my daughters, and my wife, and we're just life is cruising, man.
Man, yeah, I was looking at your bio. Of course, everybody knows the movies, man. We're talking Goonies, Lord of the Rings, the trilogy there, Rudy. But I just noticed too, you've been you've done cameos on every TV show that's cool as well.
I'll tell you what, Lord of the Rings, man. I played, my character's name was Sam 100.7.
Yeah, I was like, everybody asks, hey, did you guys, is it like a Lord of the Rings reference with the station? I'm like, you know what? Hey, if you're into Lord of the Rings, it's a Lord of the Rings reference, you know?
If you're not, then absolutely not.
That's right. Man, I tell you, seriously, the Lord of the Rings, I love the trilogy, but I have to admit, I have to watch it with the subtitles on because I'm a dumb radio DJ and I can't follow all the dialect there. So, but the subtitles help a lot, though. I'm telling you.
It's a little complex. You have to want it.
Now, what was it like, man? Because seriously, with the 3 movies, how many years did it take to get all that completely finished with all of those?
Well, it was a decade for the filmmakers, but for the actors, it was I'd say about 18 months of serious filming, and then, it took 3.5 years of continuing to go back and do reshoots and promote the films. I mean, promoting the films was probably the most fun part of it, but it was also, it was work. We were spending 2 months a year for 3 years digging in and traveling around the world and doing interviews and all that kind of stuff. So it was, I tell people it represented the better part of 5 years of my life.
Wow. Now, were you a fan of the novels before you got cast in the movies? Did you know what was going on? Did you read them in school growing up and stuff like that?
Never heard of them.
Really?
Never heard of them. When my agent said, they're the sequels to The Hobbit, I was like, oh, yeah, the Hobbit. And then when I went to the bookstore, I realized I was thinking of the Phantom Toll Booth. So, it was an amazing new adventure for me. I did not have the pleasure of knowing The Hobbit or the books or Lord of the Rings when I was a kid.
Now, but it's got to be pretty cool, though, to know that you're in a series of movies that are going to be part of just cinema history. What is it like to know that you're part of something like that? Because these movies, they're going to be around forever. Just people are going to watch them, and they aren't dated. What does it feel like to be in something that big?
Well, I think that the kind of defining role of my life is, your northern neighbors up there in Indiana doing Rudy because it's a title character in the a movie that people love and that kind of thing. But Lord of the Rings was the experience of a lifetime. That was you knew you were a part of something really bigger than yourself, a part of history, because in terms of filmmaking, what they were doing with the special effects and the miniatures, the miniatures pushed what was possible. George Lucas in Star Wars was groundbreaking with its miniatures, but Lord of the Rings took it to a whole new level, and CG and the combination of those technical effects with the drama, and then taking such a dense, big piece of literature, and then to have it come out, it came out 2 months after September 11th, which was, it was such a painful time in the country and in the world, and to have a movie that allowed people, that transported them to another mythological world, but dealt with issues of good and evil and right and wrong, it was really, the word transcendent is what I say, because it truly is, and to know that it won Best Picture, it won all these Oscars, all 3 of them won a bunch of Oscars, but the third one won the Best Picture, and I'm a voting member of the Academy, and my mom won an Oscar, and my dad and I were both nominated for Oscars for short films, but to have a movie that won Best Picture just makes it so special. It's not immortality, but it just feels like your work will last well beyond your lifetime, and that feels special and important.
It gives you a glow. Now, you mentioned Rudy. I got to talk about it. Many people say one of the greatest sports movies ever made. Well, how does that make you feel?
My mom tells people that.
That's good for her. That's a good mama right there, Well, seriously, how does it feel to know? I was in possibly the greatest. Anytime they do like a top 10 list of great sports movies, Rudy right there in the top 1 or 2 or 3.
Well, I don't know if it's in the top 2 or 3, but it definitely it makes a lot of top 10 lists. It makes tons of top 100 lists for sports movies and inspirational films, and that is so rewarding because that genre of movie, the kind of uplifting, Rocky, Chariots of Fire, those kinds of movies meant and mean so much to me. So to have done a movie that gets mentioned in there, you know, in the same breath as those is you know, it just makes you feel great. And you know, my wife is from Indiana, and
right.
So that gives it a kind of family importance. And you know, I'll tell you just a quick story. This morning, at like 3 in in Indiana, my wife's grandmother passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, she was you know 80 years old, and she had an aneurysm, and she had 2 strokes. But
wow.
But she said, when my wife and I first got together 17 years ago, we were in her grandma's little house right next to the train tracks in LaPorte, Indiana.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, you ought to make a movie, and this is like 91, this is early 1991, you ought to make a movie in Indiana. and I said, well, you know, Grandma, it doesn't really work that way. You can't just sort of say, hey, I'd like to make a movie in that state. Well, sure enough, a little over a year later, just after we'd gotten married, I called Grandma Schroeder. I was like, you know, Grandma, we're coming to Indiana to make a movie. To me, it's just a shout out to my beautiful grandma.
Wow.
Rest in peace.
Wow. Well, there you go. Well, we're sorry to hear that, but still in a better place now. I know. You know, gotta be in a better place. So
I believe it.
Now, of course, you're on the road. You said you're heading to the airport, going up to Pennsylvania, hitting the old campaign trail there a little bit, right?
Yeah, I'm so proud that that Senator Clinton and her campaign have asked me to be a part of their journey. It's you know, it's a challenge at the moment. You know, her back's against the wall, but
yeah.
I've just had so much fun, and I've learned so much about this. I've been involved in 2 other presidential campaigns, but this is something. As a Democrat, I've never seen anything like this. I mean, with both candidates,
yeah.
all the candidates, but now the 2 candidates that are left, and the amount of interest they've brought, and the amount of new energy that has been brought to the whole idea of government and politics. I just, you know, and then I've learned about the process. I've gone to Iowa and Texas and Washington for the delegate seatings, the county and the Senate
right.
delegate seatings. I never knew what that was, and now I've been there and talked to them, and it's just amazing.
Very, very cool, man. Well, I know in Kentucky we're fired up about it because for the first time in a long time, our votes actually mean something here, you know?
Well, I don't know if, you know, I'm sure you guys are starting to get bombarded, if not totally bombarded, but, you know, in the coming weeks, it's going to get crazy for you with the commercials and the campaign, you know, just the stuff, the visits
right.
from the candidates and the surrogates. And the thing is, I'm not sure that your listeners, maybe they do, and if they do, I don't mean to, I apologize, but I'm not sure that people understand how important Kentucky is. Kentucky, any one of these states, you know, Pennsylvania coming up here, Indiana, Kentucky, have the chance to decide who the next president is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so rare for either state, you know, Indiana or Kentucky, to even be meaningful, not since Robert Kennedy has either state factored prominently in a primary selection. But in this one, if the people in Indiana and Kentucky decide to go, you know, all in for one candidate or the other, they
right.
can knock the other candidate out. Well, maybe they can't knock Senator Obama out, but they can knock my candidate, Senator Clinton, out.
Right.
Or they could force a serious contest at the convention. So I just think it's great for the Democratic Party, and it's great for the country to have your state dig in and take it seriously. And so I'm proud to be able to come on your show. Your listeners fired up for democracy, and I have a chance to say my piece about my candidate.
Thank you so much, Sean Astin. Thank you so much. Continue. Best of luck to you. We'll see you down the road. Hey, if you get through Kentucky and Bowling Green, man, you better stop by and hang out with us, okay?
Tony, you're my man in Bowling Green. I wouldn't see anybody else.
You're the man. There you go, everybody. Sean Astin, you know him from Rudy and Goonies and Lord of the Rings. He's out working the campaign trail, beating the streets for Hillary Clinton. Get out there and do your part, man. You got to get out and vote, everybody. It's the Tony Rose Morning Show on Sam 100.7.